Did I ever tell you
Very
guys
cool.
that I was a Chinese meme for a while?
No.
Yeah, so in high school, we had a bunch of foreign exchange students, and one of them was a photographer. So he would go around and, like, photograph people, and then he would just make memes out of them with the other Chinese
Like
kids.
American memes?
Yeah, it'd be like white kids, but no, not American memes. It was Chinese memes.
Well, no, but like memes about American
Yeah,
kids.
exactly.
In China?
Yeah,
Or just
in Japanese or in Chinese, and they would like post them on Facebook and everything. And there was this one photo of me that they just kept passing around over and over again.
Can I see it?
Yeah. Ready?
That's amazing.
That's my feeling.
It was just me in high school,
Can I see it?
and I had never met that kid before.
That's amazing.
What's wild is you look so British there.
You
like
really
you just,
do.
You just look like you're in that new
It's like the pouty lips. The
Hot Heartstopper season 2. They give me it.
Yeah.
Have you seen Heartstopper season 1?
No,
look
what
like
is
Jack-
it?
You say you're an ally.
What is
and
it?
you are a piece of shit.
What is
Martin.
Is it a reality show?
I'd say so.
I like when you very clearly establish that I don't know what you're talking about, and then just double down and refuse to tell me what you're talking about.
Yeah, it does feel like, because it feels like a letdown after I tell you it's a TV show.
Yeah. What is it?
It's about two kids that fall in love with each other. One is a rugby player, and it's really heartwarming. I cried.
Is
was
it
also one of
scripted or
those-
reality?
Yeah, it's scripted.
Oh, it's scripted.
But it's
Oh,
one of
okay.
those movies, TV shows, I should say, that I watched during the pandemic.
And it's two guys in love with each
that's
other?
the other thing is, it is two children. Like, it's like Harry Potter.
Right,
But
but-
they're falling in love.
Two boys?
Boys.
Okay.
Is it
gotcha.
more Harry
They're-
Potter or is it more Euphoria? Like, is it?
It's as
dirty?
British as Harry Potter and as dirty as Euphoria.
Okay.
Oh, God. I
like
don't want
Skins.
either part of that.
But yeah, it is like Skins. It's like Skins. But like, for some reason where I'm watching two kids fall in love, I go, I shouldn't be watching this.
I
If
had...
they start taking off their clothes, I'm going to get in real trouble.
Oh, man. Speaking of feeling like a pedophile, so
I
yesterday...
think that's what my album's going to be called, is Not a Pedophile.
Not a pedophile. Yeah, really, that'll really clear things up. My dogs got out of the yard yesterday, and so I start walking through the neighborhood, right, to find my dogs. And there's this kid playing in his yard across the street. And I'm calling dogs' names out, and he kind of looks at me, and I'm like, "Hey, have you seen like two dogs running around this neighborhood?" And his mom bursts out of the house, and she's like, "Hey, we're going right now!" And like grabs the kid and puts him in the car. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm just looking for my dog." She's like, "Yeah, we just got here. We're about to leave." I was like, "Whoa, okay." But then I realized I have this mustache. And I'm also soliciting and talking to this child playing by himself in a yard with like a classic pedophile. I'm just like, "Hey, little boy, I lost two dogs. You want to help me come find
If you
them?"
had called them puppies, that would have been... And the thing about my puppies is they're wearing these candy necklaces.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The last time I saw them, they were at the fireworks store. Maybe we should check there first.
The mom just calls you a hack. She's like, write your own shit.
Dude, thank
She's like,
fucking God.
that'll never bust my kid.
I start, by the grace of God, I start walking down the street away from these guys, right? Because I'm like, okay, I look like such a predator. And they live 3 houses down from me. I can't fuck this up, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep walking down the street. As soon as I turn my back to them and I take like 5 steps, the woman's like, "Hey, are those the dogs?" And the dogs fucking come out. And like, I'm just like, "Oh, thank God." And we all walk back to the house.
Did
and
you say, "Oh, thank God"?
I was like,
You don't understand. I felt like a predator.
right. I was like, this is a really bad first impression
Yeah.
I was going to make with you.
Yelling clarifying statements isn't very helpful.
That's right. It's like, so now you know I don't touch kids because I own dogs.
You know, this is the first time I've realized this, but there's a lot of Chinese people that live in my neighborhood.
Oh, these people weren't Chinese. Did that? did that get
No, they
tied
didn't. They
up?
didn't sound Chinese.
Okay, all right, cool.
They didn't sound very smart at all. I would have gone after those puppies.
I know, right? That little kid, he just kind of froze.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't ask my neighbors what country their ancestors hail from.
Yeah, I didn't ask these people
I
either.
did say, "Where'd you
just-
move from?" And he went, "Alaska." And I went, That doesn't help.
That's kind of closer to China than I'd like, you know?
Not the land bridge isn't still there, is it?
like Alaska originally, or was that where you just kind of were for a while?
Yeah. I've heard about history. I hear.
So
can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I know that we're trying to get into the podcast. So welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, Seasoned Vets. We're bad at intros. I'm Martin Henn.
I'm Colton Dowling, and I'm just feeling like I want to make a statement.
Okay.
I'm getting pretty fucking buff, and I don't want you to feel intimidated. Like you can't tell me anything anymore.
Okay.
Don't be scared.
I wasn't scared.
You weren't scared?
I just don't think
Have
you're
you been holding
violent,
anything in?
I don't think you're a violent person by nature. Have I been holding anything in?
No, but nature, no. But theoretically, I could be. I always go, I could. I always.
Well, I mean, anybody could, right?
No.
He's like Jordan Peterson. He's like, I'm dangerous, but I'm reserved.
Yeah.
I take a lot of ice baths.
Okay, and that calms you down?
No.
It just makes you angrier.
It froze all the love out of my heart.
Oh, man. Well, these are a lot of good segues. Jordan Peterson, Frozen Love. We are talking about Alaska. We're talking about Alaska's chubby cousin today, Canada. And more importantly, Mike Danton, a former hockey player. You all good there?
I wasn't going to know who you were talking about.
Got your mic all set up? I know.
You said his name. You're like, should I tell you what he did? I go, you're going to have to tell me who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah. So we'll
Ted
get into
Danton?
it. Mike Danton, not Ted Danson.
Okay, that's who I was.
I know.
Cheers.
I know where you went. Mike Danton. He's a hockey player from the early 2000s. We're actually going to get into it way down the road. We'll start kind of with, as we do, like start in the beginning. Mike Danton is famous for getting arrested and convicted for conspiracy to commit murder. He actually put a hit out on his agent while he was playing in the NHL and wound up getting arrested as a team jet landed. So he got off a team jet and there were federal officers there to arrest him and bring him in.
Is that anti-Semitic?
Because you're assuming, because his agent's Jewish?
I mean, I'd assume so.
No, because
It's not a hate
this
crime.
is so okay.
It's a
Little
hate crime.
different in Canada, just like a regular Canadian, not Jewish.
That's probably why I wasn't very good at it.
That's right. Yeah, they didn't make a lot of money together. Yeah. So Mike
Together
Danton,
but separately?
no, I don't think they made a lot of money regardless. Mike Danton wasn't a very good hockey player, but he popped so much shit. Which was my favorite part about him. He was a guy, he was definitely an enforcer. He was one of those guys. They even said, I was listening to a podcast and they were like, some guys get into the NHL with skill because they're really good at hockey. And some guys get into the NHL because they're a giant pain in the ass. And Mike was a pain in the ass.
That's fucking awesome. I don't think I'd try to kill my agent.
Well, we're going to get into it because that's what I thought too. I remember hearing about this story. This kind of happened in 2004. So I was
Okay.
I was in high school. I remember hearing about this. I didn't realize how deep it went though, where this Robert, the guy that was his agent, is the guy named Rob Frost, basically started with the family from when he was crazy young. So Mike Danton, his name was originally Mike Jefferson. He changed his name to Mike Danton because he was... At one point when he was 17, he was on a team with a kid who had the last name Danton, and he thought it sounded like a cool last name.
That does sound like a cool last name.
Does it? Would you like that? I don't think it doesn't work with your name.
Colton Dowling sounds exactly like Colton Danton.
No, Colton Danton.
Colton Dowling's a famous name, though.
Yeah, Colton Dowling is way better than Colton Denton or Danton.
Danton?
Colton Danton.
What if I
think it would work with Jimmy's name.
What if
the
my
best.
name was Thor?
Thor Danton or Thor Dowling?
No, Thor Danton.
No, well I know I'm saying them out loud so I can compare them. Just give me a
Do you
second.
think
Just give me a
Kamala-
second.
do you think-
Thorland Dowling, Thor Danton. I don't know.
Do you
Thor
think Kamala
Danton, I
Harris ever
think
thinks
Thor
about
Danton.
killing Joe Biden?
Kamala
Every
Danton.
day. Every moment she wakes up.
Because
I don't think she thinks about like legit killing him, but I think it's a thing where she's like, if he was at the top of a flight of stairs
Yeah.
and I just tripped a
Right,
little
or
bit,
you think that she's like, my thing with old Joe is I scare him every chance I can get.
yeah.
Fucking die, Joe.
I don't know
just,
if he has a peanut allergy, but I give that little fucker peanuts every day just in
Yeah.
case.
He just re-upped. He's going to be going next term.
He announced he's
He
going to try to
announced.
run again.
Yeah.
God, nobody asked for that.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Trump versus Biden again?
Probably.
Well,
We
I
can't
heard
get an
it's
original
not.
script anywhere, man.
No.
We just can't get an original script fucking anywhere. We're doing reboots all over
people
the
are
place.
just
This
so
sucks.
afraid of trying something. Can we just try something, guys?
I'm so bored of Biden versus Trump. Give me something. Give me like Hitler's hologram versus who's the Greta Thunberg.
Oh, who you vote for?
I don't know. What's Hitler's current platform?
No, you guys, people change.
They kind of their speeches are kind of
I
the
know
same.
People
right?
are gonna call me a flip flopper, but hey, I'm pro Jews.
Like Greta and Hitler, when they're talking about the thing they're passionate about,
Yeah.
same energy, right?
How dare
You think Hitler was autistic?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think Hitler was on a
What?
spectrum?
Why? Because he loved trains.
I don't know. Oh, woo! Maybe. That was spicy.
Clip
I
it.
don't know.
Oh.
He painted a lot of dogs. He seemed very rigid and like.
Why? He didn't paint a lot of dogs. He
Isn't
was a
that what he did?
No, he was
No,
a
you're
landscape artist.
You're confusing a TV
with
show.
George Bush.
There's a
I'm
TV
confusing him
show.
with George Bush, so I'm confusing him
Oh,
with
George Bush was both autistic and a war criminal. For
Yeah.
sure. So I get the confusion.
I think enough
man.
meth could put you on the spectrum.
the meth drum, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
get
so.
that.
I think meth could make you autistic.
it has to.
It's got to make you punctual, right? It either makes you right on time or incredibly late.
I think that even if you're late, you're like, no, you don't get it. I also did five different things. What I could have done if I cut the time in half.
Right, exactly. I'm not late. I'm here exactly what I'm supposed to be. You turn into Gandalf.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, boys.
That's what was really in the. Could you imagine if they made Lord of the Rings, but that whole time they thought they were smoking ganj? It was really meth.
It
would have been a 1 hour movie. 9 hours. Fuck that noise. All right, let's
Holy-
knock this shit out.
Holy shit, the trees are talking.
They would have just sold the ring to Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be the same amount of teeth. Gollum had the same amount of teeth.
That's right. They're just getting blowies for that ring.
Okay,
So
Ted
so
Danson.
Mike Danton. Let's dial in. So Mike.
It sounds like a very Canadian name, though. Oh, how you doing? I'm Mike Danton.
Mike Danton. Yeah. So his name was originally Mike Jefferson, but we're just gonna call him Mike because there's only one Mike in the story. So Mike was one of those kids who always wanted to be a hockey player from like the age of 5. His dad, Steve, had the same aspirations, but Steve was never good enough and wound up turning to a life of crime. He couldn't play hockey,
What do
so
you
he
mean
did
turning
crime.
to a life?
This is a
crime?
Batman
He got-
villain
he
origin
got-
story.
What do you mean turning to a life? Hey, sorry guys, I tried to make it in there, but it's just not working.
He got convicted for 11 different crimes over his life, including drug trafficking, drunk driving, and assault.
Which do you think
yeah.
he's most proud of?
But honestly, I've
Probably
done
the drug trafficking.
literally I've done all of those things. I didn't turn to a life of crime. I just was having fun,
Yeah, but you didn't have a family to look after, Colton.
and I didn't get caught.
And you didn't get caught. So you're not Steve Jefferson.
So I was trying to think of one Jefferson quote. The Jeffersons.
Moving on up.
I was gonna say sorry boys, but that's what
Sorry,
that's,
boys.
That's what Gandalf said. My one quote is sorry boys.
It's universal. It's definitely universal. So he kind of basically Mike took this as an opportunity to be like, okay, I'm gonna get my kid into hockey, and Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, so Steve is like, I'm gonna get Mike into hockey. And so I don't know if you guys know this or not. Youth hockey is like crazy expensive, right? In terms of equipment, busing the kids around, stuff like that. So Mike was actually pretty good at hockey, but Steve didn't have enough money to kind of keep him in a competitive spot on the team. These youth hockey programs rely on a lot of boosters, and the kids who have like boosters sort of represent them, which is the parents, right? Parents just donate extra money to the program. Those are the kids that typically play the most. There was one kind of more competitive, higher stakes game, and this is when they're like 9 or 10, right? And there was a pretty like kind of high stakes game at this 10-year-old level. Steve, Mike's dad, got into a fight with another dad in the stands over how much his kid was playing. He was complaining that this one guy's kid was playing more than his kid, and they wound up fighting each other. They wound up kicking Mike off the team, but there was a guy who was already kind of scouting Mike who wound up picking him up. This guy's name was Robert Frost. Now, Robert Frost is going to be the guy that takes Mike throughout like his entire career. So this is like 91. Mike's about 11, and Robert Frost gets him onto his team, which is Robert's like probably like mid-20s at this point, right? Or sorry, fucking Robert Frost. That's a poet. David Frost.
I was thinking I knew the name, and then we have Frost Tower here in Austin.
David Frost.
And
David Frost, David Frost, David Frost.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking of, like when I was that age, 11, I was kind of thinking like maybe an Annie situation could happen to me where a rich older man could take me and
he sees your potential and takes you under his wing.
And what happened was no one saw my potential.
Oh. Well, that's just kind of sad.
Is it?
And then what happened to your potential?
It's still got it.
Still there?
It's still I'm
there?
still writing on potential energy and
Oh,
not kinetic.
God.
It's not kinetic.
Dude, me too. Do you think your potential? When do you think your potential runs out? When you're just done
When you give
being
up.
anything?
I think it's when you give up.
Yeah.
Wow, that's inspirational, guys.
Yeah. As long as you still like,
You can always have potential.
Today, I wrote a song that's
I know you did.
a hit song. It's gonna be a hit.
Wow.
I
Do you
can't-
want to?
What's it called?
It's called Babe Bark.
Interesting.
I feel like all your songs have like a very common theme, and I have no fucking idea what that theme is.
The theme is.
But they all kind of sound the same in some way.
Oh, I wish I could remember any other song I wrote.
What was the one you did a couple weeks ago? The no. Wait, do you remember that one?
No, I don't.
Give it up for pussy.
That's what it was.
So
Yeah,
give it
giving up
up.
pussy for Lent. It was giving up pussy for Lent. That's what it was.
That's right. Yeah, that's a top of the charts. That
It was
song.
also,
Yeah, it went great.
The
Give
one,
it up.
the parody of the Japanese song on the beach. You were on vacation and you wrote like turning Japanese again.
Oh, I
Yeah,
did.
you did.
Yeah.
You did.
See, this is
I
all
hate that we
potential.
remember your
Oh,
songs more than you do.
all potential energy. I will never record those, but this one maybe I will.
Did you want to break us off with any of it, or are you,
Yeah, I'll do
is
it at the end.
It's not ready. Okay,
I'll do
all
it
right.
at the
Yeah.
end.
But here's
Yeah.
the thing. I don't like the fact that these guys, like these agents, hang around little kid games.
It's
And
really
they're-
creepy, isn't
Yeah,
it? And the
very
thing
creepy.
is, like with David Frost too, it gets really weird. So at this point, David Frost isn't an agent, right? He's just a guy that's kind of been around hockey, and he's sort of coaching his own. He's coaching his own hockey team, and he's trying to find kids. Like he's recruiting in a way that's definitely predatory relative to the way these other leagues are going. A lot of these kids just play regionally, right? So it's not like about, oh man, I'm gonna field the best team. These are the kids that signed up for hockey in this region. And David Frost kind of goes past that, and he's doing he's just kind of trying to accumulate the best players he can. So he winds up getting a team together. At this point, Mike's like 12 or 13, and he gets these 4 guys together, which are called the Brampton Boys. And Brampton is like a suburb of Toronto. And these kids are good. Mike and then this other kid, Sheldon Keefe, both went on to play in the NHL. So 2 out of 4 of them went to play in the NHL. One of them was the son of a former player, so he was pretty good. And then the other kid was good too. They wound up playing great. But David Frost started doing this weird shit with Mike where he was trying to like cut him off from his family. So he would do this thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Any physical or trauma abuse? Anything?
You know, okay, so this is what happened was he got accused of sexually assaulting like 16-year-old girls when in the mid-90s. And he wound up getting off the case because not enough.
Frosted?
Yeah, Frosted. And this is kind of the same time that he's dealing with these youth hockey teams. And I completely believe he did it. Based off of the way that he talked to David, that he talked to Mike and kind of did shit with Mike, I totally believe that he like molested kids.
Girl hockey players?
It didn't say hockey players. It just said like 16 to 18-year-old
So
girls.
he was just hanging around kids in general.
Well, I mean, who goes to hockey games of the 16 and 17-year-old boys, right? It's going to be girls of that same age.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just like he's in that circle.
He's recruiting guys that are good at hockey, and he's also recruiting kids that just have game. You
Yeah.
know? Listen, you are going to be responsible for bringing all the hot babes to the court.
Yeah.
He's like
We need fans, guys.
right. It's like, okay, so listen, Jeff can't really like skate, but have you seen his sister?
Jeff can't-
She comes to
Or
every game.
He has beautiful eyes, and girls
Yeah.
love beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff can't skate, but he's smooth.
right.
He can slide in there. You know what I mean?
So I do think basically they said that the case he got off. He didn't get.
he got off.
Here we go. Okay, get him in. Come on.
He got off a lot.
There we go.
Mostly in
Okay.
his pants.
But he wasn't convicted of anything. The report said that the defense or the prosecution did an awful job of like not calling enough witnesses, stuff like that. So he was able to get off. But based on the way that he treated Mike, it's super weird. So one of the things he would do is if Mike had a really bad game, and again, he's 12, 13, right? Mm-hmm. So if Mike had a really bad game, David Frost would go to Mike's dad, Steve, and he would be like, hey, on the ride home, tear into Mike a little bit, like yell at him a little bit for how bad he played. Mm-hmm. And he thought, Steve wanted his kid to be in the NHL, and this is the coach telling him it. So he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
But here's the thing.
What do you think the first time he was like, so, fuck you?
Dude, I think it was bad because like
you have to work up to be good at that skill of tearing into somebody. So the first one,
But this
he
guy's
had to be bad
he
at
turned
it.
to a life of crime. He knows how to do that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
He's putting down his clients? No, he was a drug dealer.
Mike accused his dad of like hitting him, hitting his mom. He accused him of molesting him. Mike's dad to this day, Steve, says none of that's true. Steve's like, I had a really bad drinking problem and I was not a good father, but I didn't hit my kids and I didn't molest my kids. So probably somewhere in the middle, right?
What? You're just going to take this fucking boozer's opinion?
This boozer criminal. I think it was probably somewhere in the middle, just based on what I've
what's
read.
half of a molestation?
I
think
sure
he probably
think he hit him.
He probably hit his kids and he probably hit his wife and he probably drank a lot.
And he
but
probably accidentally hit her in the pussy, but it wasn't molestation. It was just a mispunch.
well, she had a sick vertical.
Oh.
I don't know. This is the part of the podcast where you bring up hypothetical scenarios that I in no way could have researched.
You said how? You said let's find
I feel
somewhere in
like-
the middle, and I said what's in the middle of molestation?
He probably hit his kids. He probably didn't molest them. That would be my guess based off of what I read. Another weird instance.
But that's also something that, like, that's a bad thing. You shouldn't yell at your kids, but sports dads do that anyway. And coaches tell their dads to do that. Like,
This is also, like we were talking
that
about.
happens all the time.
We were just
Yeah.
talking about with Rogan, how at 55, sure, views are pretty progressive. This is also early 90s Canadian Youth League hockey. Every single kid was getting yelled at by a drunk dad.
Right. But yelled at, I'll tell you what, doesn't hurt near as bad as something soft spoken but really mean.
That's mom's job, though. That's mom's
If
job.
your dad just is like, Jesus Christ, you can't even play. You're just sitting there like, what's his problem? But if he just goes, yeah, you didn't really play that well today. You're going, ah.
My mom, when she was really disappointed in me, she would look away from me and she would take a deep breath and she'd go, God damn it, Martin. And that was the worst I could ever feel in my life. Because it's like, I know she's like, I want to fucking yell at you and just like
Was it any
absolutely
performance-
decimate you.
Performance based?
Like live performance.
Oh, live
Yeah,
performance.
it was
Yeah.
like I found a bong in the
Bong?
basement.
I found a
and-
bong in the basement.
Yeah, and it's just like, what the fuck do I even do?
Martin's like, no, that was one of the guys that works for dad.
Yeah.
That wasn't
They're
mine.
breaking
That's
into
right.
our house.
That's right. They broke into our house and just left a bong.
One time I was playing football and I didn't get in at all. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt really bad about it. And I went home and I was like, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm going to take a shower. My grandfather calls me up. He goes, hey, I want to talk about the game. I was like, I can't talk about the game. I'm getting in the shower. And he goes, why? You didn't sweat? You weren't on the field once. And that was just like, oh, fuck.
I remember the first time my dad saw me do comedy, it was at this awful show at a sushi restaurant, and I think 4 people bought tickets. So there was 9 people there, including me, my dad, the comics, and the audience. And it was an awful show. And I think I was
In Madison?
This was in Milwaukee, and it was like my first Milwaukee show too. And I had been doing comedy for 6 months, and it was just awful, right? The whole thing was bad. And we get done, and we're driving to the hotel, and I was like, so what'd you think about the show? And he goes, it was really easy to understand everything you said. And I was just like, you don't I wish you just would have said it went fine. And that would have been so much better.
You shouldn't have asked.
I shouldn't have. Well, I didn't know any better because I was 6 months in. And
How old were you?
Oh, God, like 26.
Yeah, you should have known.
I should.
You should have known.
Yeah, sometimes
I was an adult man.
There's no right response sometimes.
It was
It's a
bad.
stupid. There are stupid questions.
It was, but he was like, that was the nicest thing he could say.
But here's the thing: wouldn't you rather him be honest in that moment, and then when he says you did well, you did well?
Yeah, for sure.
Like
That's fair.
If I bomb and someone was like, "You were great," I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Honestly, when
No,
people,
you know what? Not from my parents. I don't care if it's from my parents, because I'm not really gonna base how well I did or not off of my parents' opinion in the first place. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't think like my mom will go to one of my shows and she'll explain like her experience at the show. And I'm like, okay, well, I understand why you feel that way about the show, but you don't understand like X, Y, Z of why it happened. You know what I mean? Like I would base, like if I'm getting compliments from other comics on a performance of mine, like I take that way more seriously than.
Sure.
I don't think my parents understand the context of the shows they're going to.
I disregard most information.
Yeah. No, I know.
Unless it's specific. If you're just saying like a rating system of like that went well or oh boy, I don't even know, it went really well. I will disregard that. If somebody goes something specific like I can't believe you just yelled at that lady chicken soup. Very funny choice. I love that. Then I'm going, you see me when got to my name.
I'm the chicken soup guy now.
One of my
Chicken
I'm
soup
gonna,
down.
hey, I'm going to do that all the time.
One of my first ever shows, my cousin came to, and I asked him afterwards, I'm like, "What'd you think?" And he goes, "I thought you were one of the best people out there, but for some reason, it was like, I don't know why, but 80% of the people in the lineup had some sort of disability." Like one of them had a stutter that he could not get over the entire he just kept talking like.
I like that you said that he could not get over it. Like he was gonna get up there and just be like, "All right."
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne.
Well,
was
you would
saying.
think
Oh,
that
sure. Like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
It's true.
But it was horrible, and like another
Also-
guy couldn't talk at all, and I was like, so I was the best of all those guys. And I mean, he's like, yeah, you weren't like good, but you were better than all the other disabled comedians on the lineup.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's so
I
funny.
shouldn't have asked.
Cam, I don't know his last name, but so funny is
Patterson?
He's Ozzy Osbourne. Off stage, I can't understand a fucking word
Oh,
he says.
that's hilarious.
And then he gets on stage and he's just like clear as day. I'm just like, what is happening?
That's why.
Yeah, I talk to comics with Cam all the time, and none of them can get his name right. And it's just Cam. He goes, "What up, man? My name's Cam," and they're like, "Pam?" Like it's like the Step Brothers sketch.
Yeah, Pam.
Pam. I think I can help this.
That's funny. Yeah, he can clear up this whole Pam Pan situation.
No, it's Pam.
So yeah, there was just a bunch of it. Just kept happening throughout his childhood. So
The molestation?
yeah, exactly. No, the separation between like Mike and his dad Steve. Another weird
I
instance
thought
was
the problem was the lack of separation, right?
Yeah.
what?
The problem was the lack of separation. There wasn't enough separation between Mike and Steve, and that was Mike's biggest issue. Because he
Get this
molested.
asshole away
Oh,
from
because of the molestation. Because they were. I get it. All right, sorry. I didn't realize you guys were still making molestation jokes.
We're not making molestation jokes. If you've ever,
This is very
if you've ever,
serious.
you'd want less. If you ever have the option, choose less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they don't call it more
Molestation.
Molestation.
more station.
station.
You saw where I was going, right? It was going to
No,
be really
it's-
funny if I stuck the landing.
No, it's
but I
called
didn't.
molestation.
Yeah, it's molestation, not more station.
We did it though.
There
did
we
it
go.
twice.
We made it. We follow Seasoned Vets on Instagram. That'll be a good TikTok.
Will it?
I don't know.
I don't think that. I feel
I
like
don't-
China's gonna
I
stop
don't
that
know.
one
China's
right at the
gonna
top.
stop that one.
Oh
No, they want us talking about molestation.
we
Not
should
like us, but
probably-
the United
We
States.
should be a pro-China.
Pro China
podcast.
podcast. PCP.
Yeah.
Pro-China podcast?
Yeah, and we'll all do PCP together.
Colton, you have to
Would
wear
you like
way
that?
more clothes if you want to be a pro-China podcast.
Warmer clothes?
Yeah.
More clothes.
And you have to have
China. I bought this from China.
You have to have way fewer opinions as well.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna get into trouble. Is all the things you say.
Hey, China, can I negotiate? I don't believe a lot of the things I say.
I don't know if you've ever met China. They're not very good at negotiating.
No, they're great at negotiating.
They get everything they want.
Honestly,
true.
it doesn't matter. I was gonna say that China knows that Americans love compliments so much that they just fucking jerk us off, and they're
God.
like, "Yeah, they love that."
Yeah, isn't that a South Park episode?
That is a South Park
It's a
episode.
South Park
where he goes,
episode,
Oh,
yeah.
you American, you have such big penis.
Yeah, that's like an old school one.
Oh, me? Yeah, I do remember.
That's like a
now.
25-year-old South Park
And
episode.
that's
That's
such
wild.
a funny Do you know that's from a
It's
true
really
story?
good one.
What?
Matt and Trey were hanging out with these Japanese dudes, and one of them just kept going, "Oh, you American have big penis. My penis so small." And they were like, "That's going in the show."
Yeah, well, we got to talk about that now. But yeah, so the relationship just kept getting weirder between Mike and his coach. There was one instance where Mike got injured and he was like laid out on the ice for a half an hour, and he thought he seriously hurt his back, and so they bring him to the locker room, and apparently it's this huge like faux pas for anybody but the players and the coaches to be in a hockey locker room. Like, it's a big deal. And Mike's dad, Steve, goes into the locker room to check on his kid, and David Frost like freaks out on him and gets him out of the locker room and like pushes him out and basically convinces Mike to keep playing in the game and puts like Mike back in the game. And Mike's dad was like, "This was the moment where I feel like I like really lost my kid, because I should have stepped in and stopped that, and I didn't." And that's like, now he's got him. And from there on, it just got worse between Mike and his dad. Like, Mike got busted for shoplifting at 15, and his dad kicked him out of the house. And at this point, David Frost lived like down the street from the family. So every time Mike got in a fight with his dad, he would go and like stay the night at David Frost's house.
Yeah, David Frost definitely fucks his dude.
I think he might have.
Also, I never understood how kicking the kid out of the house works. Like, why would
Yeah.
you ever do that?
Yeah. How is it going to make it better?
It seems like you're a bitch.
Well, I think
No,
it's
you have to stay in the house.
It's a bad parenting move.
Yeah,
you know?
for
It's
sure.
just a bad parenting move. It's, oh yeah, you got in trouble. Well, how about I give you less guidance and like,
Yeah.
love and attention. That'll work.
I think they think you think you're such a hot shot. You couldn't do any of this without me. And then
Yeah.
you'll learn your lesson and you'll come crawling back in a couple of days, not having done any more shoplifting.
Well, and it also like
right? You're gonna go out immediately.
right, this
need
broke
food.
16-year-old that just got caught stealing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely not going to
He's
steal
gonna
more.
turn to a life of crime.
He's going to turn to a life of crime, and he's going to hit your wife, who's his mom, and it gets all muddled.
Yeah, I probably would go fuck the. Was David Frost a good-looking dude?
I don't know.
But he had power.
Yeah, I mean that alone. Even if he was a fine-looking dude, I probably would have done it too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was like. I mean, he was Canadian, and it was the '90s, so how attractive could he have been?
What the '90s had a lot of hot Canadians.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey,
Pamela
Mike
Anderson.
Myers.
Mike
Pamela
Myers is not
Anderson.
attractive.
What is his name? Dave Frost.
David Frost. I mean, I don't know. That's him when he's a little bit older.
Oh my God.
I don't think he really-
Not older, not younger. The answer is a definitive no.
I think he was
You
just
wouldn't do it?
unattractive.
This man, no.
Bad nose, bad brow. Not a looker.
Oh wait, is this David Frost?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Well, this one he can.
That one he can get it. No, David Frost is probably like in his 50s or 60s.
This David Frost, Sir David Frost, is the guy from Willy Wonka, the one who's like, and the robot, and this robot machine will tell you where the next Willy Wonka chocolate bar is. All right, it's printing right now. It's like, that would be cheating. All right, well, let's put another button in. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I do. I'm just letting you go. You're
Well,
kind
I
of
was gonna
having
do
a
the whole
moment
thing.
right now.
I've seen it. No.
I've seen it. Yeah,
I've seen
clearly.
it. I've seen it.
So when Mike was 16, Frost got suspended indefinitely from this youth hockey league that he had been in, but he kind of did it on purpose. So all these guys that Frost recruited were about to age out of this league and go to the next league of hockey. And basically, he's not like the general manager of this team he's coaching. So the general manager gets to kind of ship these guys out and sign them as he sees fit. Frost forged the general manager's signature and had the general manager release all 4 of the guys that he had been mentoring all at once. So that way they were free agents. They weren't under the contract of this team. And then David Frost could ship them out as a package, right? This got him in a lot of trouble, and he wound up getting kicked out. But these kids were so good that definitely somebody was going to pick them up. They wound up joining this Canadian Hockey Outlaw League, which is a league established outside of the rules of Hockey Canada. Teams can recruit out of regions. Rules can change at any time. And the teams can charge the parents more money because there's no regulations set in place by Canada. This also allowed players to be physical, as physical as they wanted.
So parents have to pay dues and they're under contract?
Yeah.
There's
still they can still charge it because they're still minors.
Right.
So it's they're on a contract, but they're not making money. It's still amateur hockey.
I don't understand why they ever signed something like
They
that.
do that because then the hockey scouts go to those games.
Hockey is it's such an organized sport, right? You can't just go play hockey like you can play basketball. You need equipment, you need a rink, you need a bunch of, you know what I mean? You need the production value of hockey is so high that
you have to sign a contract when you're under 18
in order to get exposure to get into better leagues and then wind up getting into minor league hockey. You need to be in a position where you're getting, you're out in front of scouts and shit like
Colton,
that.
think of it like this. The NCAA with football, they're not getting paid, but they're going to the school and they can't just transfer to another school.
I thought NCAA was the indoor arena.
No.
I was like, they're not getting paid? What?
No, college sports.
Then
because
thinking
hockey
like
players
college
don't go to
sports.
college. They just go straight out of high school to the league.
Who does?
Hockey players.
Hockey.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Hockey.
There's no rule about going to university,
You
but
can
there
get
is
into
with football.
you can get into minor league hockey in 17, 18. And that's what you'll start to see here too.
So if you want those scouts to see you, you have to be a part of these leagues that are run
Right.
for kids, but you have to pay to be a part of the leagues.
So this outlaw league was kind of where Mike figured out that he's just going to be an enforcer player. In Mike's first season in this outlaw league, he's 16. He got 281 penalty minutes in 35 games. Now, to put that in perspective, the NHL record for penalty minutes is 472 minutes, which was achieved in 76 games.
Okay.
So over half of the penalty minutes that the record was in under half of the games. It's kind of wild how bad he was just knocking people out. During this time, David Frost started getting rougher with his team as well.
It kind of sounds like the water boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just picturing his dad's face on all of these hockey players.
Legit. 100%. He's just kick me out for shoplifting. I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah. Speaking of things that, a new script, why not have the old script in hockey? Waterboy, the hockey.
Iceman. We could call it Iceman.
Yeah, we can.
Waterboy, Iceman, because the
Happy
water's
They
frozen.
Still need water.
The water's
they
frozen.
Still need water.
But the water froze.
But there is no job, the Iceman.
The Iceman. Yes, there is. He drives the Zamboni.
Oh.
He drives the Zamboni thing. Don't make that noise on our podcast, dude.
It was the Zamboni. The Zamboni I was making.
I used the Zamboni.
I was making the noise. You've never heard of Zamboni
Well, the Zamboni
work?
sounded an awful lot like the water boy, if you ask me.
Then it's a perfect
You
map.
know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
You know what
I'm
I mean.
innocent.
You fucking know
Don't
what I
make
mean.
me turn to a life of crime.
So Frost started getting rougher with the team, too. During the 96-97 playoffs, Frost got mad at Mike's hotel roommate, who's also on the team, and wound up punching this 21-year-old kid in the face. Frost got suspended from coaching, and he had gotten... Basically, he got suspended from coaching, and the 4 guys that, are following this guy all the way through were so pissed he got suspended, they forfeited the game. They, threw the game, and the team got eliminated from the playoffs.
Who did the coach punch?
It was this 21-year-old player that was also on the team.
Guy.
Yeah, and he was like just getting sick of this guy's attitude, so he went to the hotel and like punched this guy in the face.
He goes, "I'm sick of your attitude," and then he goes, "Why don't you go fuck a 16-year-old, you creep?"
Yeah, but these
exactly.
kids
And he
that
punched
these
him.
4 had been groomed. Like, this is how he always is, and he's a winning attitude.
He's right. He's always right.
Yeah.
So they all throw the game, and again, like they get thrown off the team for that, and they follow David Frost again. So he's at a point where he can play he's at like a semi-pro level at this point, right? He's 16 years old and he's in like a pretty upper rank for 16. So now he enters the Ontario Hockey League draft. The Ontario Hockey League is a top amateur league and regarded as like a farming system for the NHL. So this is where he's going to start getting like paid and stuff like that. He was drafted by a team called the Sarnia Sting, and after he was drafted, Frost was right there with him. He wasn't coaching the team, but he was still like at all the practice. He was still mentoring this guy, right? Sarnia knew Frost was a part of the package, and they didn't like him from the start. Mike got traded 12 games into the season because of David Frost. He got traded to another team, and Frost set up shop again. In Mike's second season, Frost convinced the team to sign the other 3 guys. And again, this Brampton boys, they're all on the same team. Once they're on the team together, again, they start listening exclusively to Frost, and they're getting into fights, not listening to their coaches. This team fucking hates these guys, too.
Can you imagine just these 4 fuckers just showing up, and you're just like, I hate them so
much. And this is the thing, is the team's age is like, what, at this point, they're like 17 to like 22. Mm-hmm. So if you're a 22-year-old and 4 17-year-olds who are pretty good at the game come in with this other mentor, they must have been the most annoying fucking guys. They must have been so irritating. And they were, and it's not even like, oh yeah, we just have this guy.
12, right?
No, it's bigger than that because there's usually like 4 lines and 5 guys on each line. So that's like 20 guys.
Okay.
And then you have a couple
But
goalies.
they're basically a whole line.
I think it's about 25 guys. Yeah, they're kind of almost a whole line.
Okay.
So
And did they play as a whole line?
that I don't know. I would imagine not because I feel like once they get to like the amateur level, I feel like they're skilled. The skill difference between the 4 guys is starting to become a little bit more established. So I don't know if they were necessarily all playing on the same line, but I do think they played a lot together because it just made sense. They've been playing together now for
Well, they have
6 years.
flow with each other. They
Exactly.
know where each other's going to
Exactly.
be at the different points.
Yeah, and
That's the thing
hockey's
with
a
LeBron's team.
very intuitive sport in that way too. So
Like LeBron's high school team, they've been playing together for 10 years. So that's
Yeah.
why they were just so good.
yeah, they all knew to pass the ball to LeBron James
Yeah.
and then not do
gonna say
anything.
that too.
Right.
Yeah.
They really had to play pass the ball to LeBron down by
I can't
junior year of high
it
school.
took us 9 years to get this play down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We really, we've got a good chemistry. One guy scores 103 points a game, and we learned how to high five him without hurting his elbow.
That's genius.
It's chemistry, dude. It's
I wonder
chemistry.
who their David Frost was.
So they wind up getting sick of these guys too. This Toronto team winds up getting sick of these guys too, and they trade them all again. And they trade them to this team named the Colts, who play about 60 miles north of Toronto. The Colts win the championship, and it's Mike's best year as an amateur. Now, this is... We're going to wrap it up right here, and then we'll get into the second part of what's going on in the next episode. But this next part's the most Canadian thing I ever heard. So the Colts win the championship for their league, right? And they wind up getting into this nationwide round-robin tournament. It's a huge tournament. It's a really big deal. And they're talking a ton of shit to the other teams. One team specifically, just basically saying shit
No,
like...
I mean like Twitter.
No, it's like press conferences and stuff because this is like late 90s.
Okay.
So it's like press conference. So it's like newspaper, it's radio, it's local TV, stuff like that. It's like old school shit talking.
Love that.
And it's a lot of like, because it's representatives from these different leagues. So it's a lot of like, oh, this guy wouldn't last a day in our league and shit like that. So one guy that Mike specifically started talking shit about was this guy named Brad Richards. And he said Brad Richards wouldn't last 5 games in the Ontario Hockey League. Now, fast forward to present day. Brad Richards went on to play over 1,100 games in the NHL. He had an incredible, like, decades-long career, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Mike played 87 NHL games. So he came up a little short on Brad's career. Mike's team wound up losing to Brad Richards' team early in the tournament. They lost a game 6-2. Mike refused to shake Brad's hand after the game. Now, the non-handshake...
Was Mike go skating towards him like, come on.
Yeah, they do a line.
And then he
They
just
do like
went
a good
this.
game, and he wouldn't shake.
He just went like that.
Yeah, he just wouldn't shake his hand during the game. This story followed both of these players for years. And
Wouldn't
only
even
in
shake
Canada.
his hand.
Only in Canada is it a thing where it's like, hey, you remember 6 years ago when Mike wouldn't shake Brad's hand after that hockey game?
Yeah.
Pretty tense stuff, you know? It was just so funny to me that was so noteworthy in the story that they're like, it followed both of them for years.
What do you think is
Yeah.
like some classic Canadian shit talk? Like, oh, he's slower than syrup, isn't he?
I think it's probably a lot of
wouldn't-
calling. I think it's a lot of calling the other guy effeminate. You know,
Oh.
a lot of like, oh yeah, I bet your mom hits the ball a little harder than you there. Hey, buddy, you know. And like it's a lot of like you hit like a girl and I fucked your sister. I think that's
yeah,
what
it's
a lot of
fucked your sister
it's a
talk.
lot of
Oh,
I fucked
I
your
didn't want to
sister.
shake his hands because they were so womanly.
It was
Yeah.
too soft for me. I'm going to go back
Yeah.
and shake my coach's hand who has nice soft hands on my balls.
Yeah, hey, you know.
He fucked my sister.
right. I saw him and Ashley at the Tim Hortons after the game.
Tim
It's a lot
what?
of shit. Tim Hortons. You don't know about Tim Hortons?
It's a donut shop.
It's like
Dunkin'
it's like a
Donuts.
huge deal in Canada, and it was opened by a former hockey player.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I have to believe you
But
because I'll never go.
that one was one of my favorites. But yeah, after the tournament, Mike turned his focus to making the NHL and getting drafted into the pros, which he wound up doing with the help of Frost. And that's where we will kind of leave off, and we will catch up with you guys next week with all the good shit. And we'll get into how he organized Frost to be straight up murdered.
It's hard to come up with a. Sorry, I was trying to come up with more Canadian insults. I feel
Well,
like I feel like that's so ripe for the picking, but it's as soon as you just like
Yeah.
take away the meanness.
Well,
then
all you
it's-
have to do is it'd be an American insult, but then immediately afterwards just go, oh, sorry.
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 Hey, sorry to tell you this, but I don't even think your family uses real maple syrup.
Yeah. You're not very athletic. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we played really just a couple points better than you in that
You know?
last game.
Yeah, I think you see that team over there. It looks like they drink Labatt Blue Light.
Damn, you know a lot of Canadian references.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
I'm
grew up like how far from
Pretty
Canada?
close. It's a lot further than people think.
No.
Never been to Canada.
You've
Really?
never been to Canada?
No, never been to Canada.
I-
I've seen it from across the river in Detroit.
I kissed a lawyer who lives in China now. China.
James Kerrigan.
No. That would be funny if we switched
Oh
from.
God, if you made out with James Kerrigan, it'd be the funniest thing I've ever
No,
heard in my
he
life.
also James Kerrigan carried around a lawyer book for years,
I
but
know,
never ever took.
I don't
the
think
test.
he even opened it.
I don't think he ever took the test. No, I'm studying for the test.
Could you imagine James Kerrigan
He
being your lawyer?
really should have opened that book.
Oh God. Sorry, you guys don't know who we're talking about.
That's a bit inside
I don't think
hockey.
Jimmy even knows who we're
No, I
talking
don't
about.
know James Kerrigan.
No, he's a deep cut. He's a deep cut.
Yeah, but probably one of our biggest fans. And thank you so much for listening.
There's a good
James.
chance he'll watch this episode.
You know
yeah.
what? Thanks, James.
We
We
appreciate
appreciate it.
you,
You know
James.
what? We're glad you never went to China.
You know what's gonna happen is Craig Fergola is gonna watch this episode. He's gonna be like, James, they were talking a bunch of shit about you in this episode,
I
and
think
then
we
he's gonna
did.
make James watch it.
And maybe start comedy.
Yeah.
No, I do. He does. I think that doesn't matter. But I was just, really hoping to debut my latest song if I can.
Yeah, let's go. We're gonna close out on a song. Thank you guys for tuning into Seasoned Vets. I've been Martin.
And I've been Colton, but
He's been Jimmy.
I'm Jimmy.
And Colton, do you have like a stage name for your singing prowess?
It's
Do you have a beat? You have a beat?
No. This is the song I recorded.
Oh,
earlier.
you're not gonna sing it for us
forgot-
live.
I forgot it. This is me in the car, and just imagine that.
God damn it, Colton.
This is a song. I know what the song is about. It's about trying to find your true love, but all you can find is dogs.
Aw.
Bark, bark, bark.
You know, I think it's interesting to note that all of these songs are just 100% sober also.
Oh God, they are.
Yeah,
They really are.
That's a fucking bark, bark, bark.
I think there might be a copyright infringement. Isn't that just like one of those 1950s songs? Like,
Yeah, it is referential.
It
for
was
sure.
like doo-wop, Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah, bark, bark, bark. It's actually, I'm imagining
Doo-wop, Let the Dogs Out.
I'm imagining somebody's going through Tinder and they're like, babe, 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 bark, bark, bark.
women are the dogs.
yeah, women are the dogs.
That's been the show. See you next week.
No tango racism.
That you